exact meaning, which meant that while the other sleepers were still in the dark as to what her aspect was, Sunny had clues. By understanding the grammatical structure of the rune language, it was easy to extrapolate and see that the correct translation would have technically been Star of Change. On top of that, it turned out that there were different runes for the word change, each with its own connotation. Depending on what exact rune was used to relay the meaning of the name, it could also mean ruinous star or star of misfortune. A small change in wording and connotation could mean a world of difference in real life. Sunny, who had never seriously studied before, found the process of acquiring vast amounts of theoretical knowledge strange, numbing, and exhausting. But it was also exhilarating. Knowledge was something that only the privileged had access to, and now Sunny was considered one of them, at least so long as he managed to stay alive. While he was new to academia, he quickly picked up on a sobering fact, one he wished he realized sooner. It was also this authority over knowledge that kept them in positions of power, creating a vicious cycle of inequality. The poor had no opportunity to study, and without the advantage of a good education, they had no way out of their circumstances. If they could study, they could at least maybe reach the bare minimum requirements for most jobs, but for so much of his life, that was so far out of reach in even his wildest dreams. But now, Sunny was one of those privileged people. More than that, he was at the pinnacle of social hierarchy. Not only had he gained access to an unlimited amount of knowledge, but even his basic needs like food and shelter were also taken care of by the government, allowing him to fully focus on the single goal of developing himself as an awakened. This sudden transformation would have sent him into a whirlpool of philosophical reflection if he had any time to spare. But that wasn't going to happen anytime soon. When he didn't have classes, Teacher Julius insisted on holding practical lessons every other day. Even if some of them had to be done in virtual reality simulations, he insisted on using the full immersion stations, which enhanced physical feedback. As a result, Sunny was bone-tired and utterly exhausted. The good thing was that with such an amount of exercise, coupled with his newly reforged body, Sunny had never been in better shape. Even without combat training, he could feel his strength, stamina, and agility improving by leaps and bounds. The peculiar rebirth he had experienced after completing the first nightmare had enhanced the innate potential of his body, bringing it to the peak of the human condition. But now it was up to him to realize that potential, with sweat, effort, and a lot of hard work. Practical application of wilderness survival techniques provided him with the opportunity to do so. By day, he was a proper student, taking on a full course load and additional study and practice in an attempt to make up for lost time. But by night, Sunny secretly collected information about other sleepers and practiced shadow control while most of the others were relaxing, socializing, or sleeping. His shadow was independent enough to be sent on scouting missions without his direct control. It would sneak here and there, listening in on the conversations and observing different classes where sleepers had to demonstrate their aspect abilities. Then, after Sunny had finished his supper and returned to his room, it would come back and share everything it had heard and seen during the day. The only problem with this arrangement was that the shadow, despite its outward snarkiness, turned out to be rather naive. It didn't quite understand how the human world worked, and as such, often failed to distinguish between useful information and meaningless chatter. Most nights, Sunny received nothing of value. Not really. His shadow would prattle on with the latest academy gossip. Sunny listened, trying to find anything useful in these information dumps, and fought against the sleep that pulled at his bones. This was how he learned that in the Sleeper Academy, romance was in the air. It wasn't all that shocking. There were 100 beautiful young people locked on the ground in close proximity to each other, with the added spice of a deathly threat hanging over their heads. Many felt that life was short, and it was their time to seize the day. Passion bloomed in the shadow of approaching danger, felt like a complete outsider to this side of academic life. He had already positioned himself to be perceived as an unlikable lunatic, which didn't help with finding any romantic prospects. But even if he had wanted to, he simply had no time for anything except his lessons and training. And even if he wanted to, he knew deep down that that would be a terrible idea. He was wary of getting too close to anybody, afraid that a situation would arise where he would have no choice but to divulge his true name. His nights were full up anyway. He was busy enough with gathering information and slowly learning about the scope and